Well, hello. All right. So getting my meeting set up. So excited to have everybody today. Um, First of many live webinars to be recorded and sent out to the dozens and dozens of people that are like, yeah, 10 o'clock on a Friday, not so much working for me. But I hope you enjoy today's overview. Basically, this is going to be a down and dirty basic overview of gut health and the ways that I, in my practice, help people to heal their guts and kind of why it's important, why we go about it, and to kind of simplify because there's a lot of information out there, a lot. And so my goal is to make it more simple for you, easier to digest. That's my fun there. And have some action steps you can have to move forward. So um, let's get going. Like I said, basic overview today, understanding digestion, the importance of it, and how we go about fixing it up. Excuse me. All right. So this is me. Look at my cute little family. My name is Emily Nielsen. For those of you that don't know me personally or professionally, I'm a certified nutritionist and certified nutrition specialist, so both in Washington State and credentialed for the worldwide United States, so not worldwide, but United States of America. And I practice what's called integrative health. So I get questions a lot about what is the difference between dietitians and nutritionists, and what the heck does integrative health mean, anyways? So integrative health is not just looking at one modality um, for, oops, I disappeared. All right. So is not looking at one modality for finding our health and healing. It's not just saying that just nutrition is going to be enough. It's not saying that just exercising is going to be enough to push us towards our goals. It's looking at all the things. Let's look at nutrition. Let's look at stress management and all of these different. I keep having people going to the waiting room, and I thought they would just be able to come in. But I have to let you in apparently one at a time, so that's cool. So basically, we look at our whole bodies, our whole selves. So when we are striving to increase our health and wellness, we're not just picking a singular issue to work on. We take them all, right? We know that our bodies are complex, and so when we can support them by using lots of different modalities, by getting all of those moving parts to move forward at the same time, that's when we really achieve health and healing. So like I said, master's of science in nutrition and integrative health, and I have a private practice where I specialize in this guy over here, digestion. So really, this is the whole system, right? Start to finish. We have our systems in place that move food from our mouths to getting excreted. During that process, a lot should happen, right? Like, this is a very complex system. It has a lot of things going, a lot of moving parts, right? We need all of these organs and support organs to be working appropriately for us to actually get our nutrients extracted from food. So it's kind of like, hey, we're going to all this effort to put good, clean foods in our body, but what if we're not getting the benefit out of them? And for the majority of my clients, even those that don't feel like they have GI problems, they don't have diarrhea, constipation, gas, and bloating, but they've got something going on with their skin, they've got migraines, they've got this persistent cough or histamine problems or food allergies, right? We can tie all of those things back to the gut, because it is truly the foundation and the cornerstone of our health. So part of my goal in my practice is to get all of these systems top to bottom working the way that they should. It can be really complicated if you don't know what system is cranky with you, right? Sometimes we can tell, man, I've got really bad heartburn. Okay, that's stomach acid, right? But that's going to now cause a chain reaction all the way down that's going to affect the rest of digestion. So, um, really important to like pinpoint what system needs the most support and then work your way back from there. Um, you usually can't just pick and choose one area to fix up. So if if you've got constipation, you just take a laxative and there you go, right? We need to understand what is the cause of this. What's the underlying reason that we've got constipation? Do we have a migrating motor complex issue? Are those nerves not communicating appropriately? Is our food not getting broken down small enough because we don't have enough stomach acid, or we have an imbalanced stomach acid that's swinging high to low? So that's kind of where the strategic part of my job comes in, is really pinpointing where's the biggest burden and how can we support that so the body works the way it should. Our bodies are designed to heal themselves. And so if we can support them and heal whichever system is really the crankiest, and then give some support to the other guys, right? Then that's usually where we see big change for people. And the general rule of thumb is like a month per year of issues you've had. So a month of gut healing per year of problems that you've been experiencing, whether that's hormone imbalance, whether that's pain and inflammation. I personally have found that I can get that number down a lot quicker when we use really a strategic format. But this is all the systems that need to be working correctly for your guts to be happy. I see a lot of clients with no gallbladder and no appendix, or one or the other not there. This is a little guy down here. And that is often a turning point and a trigger for them, because those are actually really important support staff for the gut. And so we have to be a little strategic about supporting the rest of the body now when those dudes are gone. So if you've done any kind of research or Googling on gut health, then you probably have seen a little bit about the 5R or 4R programs that are out there. Totally a brilliant concept, right? But pretty darn complex. Usually they involve a large elimination diet, really restrictive, long time in between phases. Um, Really, if when it was me going through those experiences, because the reason that I'm in this career is because I had a massive amount of health problems, and I really found my health and healing over this long journey. But it really switched, and I really gained a lot of traction when I healed my gut. And so my passion became figuring this system out and realizing that so much of our overwhelming health things can be simplified by fixing up the gut. So that's what I like, is simplified, right? I want it to be simple, quick and easy, effective. I want to feel better quicker, right? So I've condensed over the years this 5R style of healing to just make it a little bit more simple. We do need to repair, right? And we're going to go through these steps, and I'll explain to you the different systems, and we'll chat about that. So repair, right? There's damage in the gut lining, undoubtedly, even for those of us that don't have, over like arching gut problems. If you do have gut problems, we can be like, well, yeah, of course there's damage in there. We've got cranky guts, right? And so we have to repair the foundation pieces. Then we need to rebalance. We need to figure out what nutrients the body really needs. How did we get to this place in the spot in the first place? What kind of enzymes do we really need? What kind of acid or type or timing does the body really need? And then my favorite part, because I'm a nerd for science and bacteria, is we re-inoculate, right? We'll talk about the microbiome, which is the collection of bugs that lives in and on us. And it has huge implications for a whole host of non-communicable diseases. And we can really alter and have a little bit more control over the expression of our genes and those kind of things that we didn't realize even, 5 and 10 years ago as new research comes out about the microbiome. So let's keep it simple. This is my philosophy, right? Less is love. And make it so that it's a sustainable and an enjoyable process, right? Because if you're going on a 6 month to a year journey of, extreme elimination or like cutting out whole food groups and things like that, it can be really challenging. And then we kind of pop up a whole host of other really kind of fun issues. So I hope you guys can see. I'm going to move us. All right, guys, you're coming with me. Get over here. All right. So let's see. There we go. Ooh, I've got skills. Hide non-video participants. All right. Sorry, peeps, you're out. All right. So barrier function, right? So in the gut, we have this, starts here, goes all the way down to the other end. And it is actually an exposed system, right? So our organs, like our heart, they're not exposed to the outside world. The gut is, right? Because what you put in is now, it's exposed to the world. And so the gut lining is made up of epithelial cells, and they are meant to be cinched together by tight junctions. They are meant, like, their job is to protect the insides of our body from what we are putting in on the outside, right? So this would be considered, oh, I'm pointing at the computer. This would be considered the outside, where these microorganisms are and the little toxins that are out here and all that kind of stuff. That's the gut, right? And that's where food and particles and plastics from our heated up, Nalgene bottles or whatever are getting in to the body. Now we've got this barrier, right? It's supposed to be there to protect us from all of those things. Well, it's not just a protective barrier, it also is largely involved in digestion. We've got these little microvilli, and their job is to help break things down even further after bacteria have had their say and digestive enzymes have had their say. And it's meant to bring nutrients in, like to the bloodstream. Problem is, for a large part of the population, we have what's called leaky gut, or that's the fancy term. It's really not, but and so we get this barrier function that is loosey goosey, and that can be triggered by high stress, like antibiotic therapies, nutrient deficiencies, especially zinc, looking more towards like glutamine and things like that. High stress, I already said that, but it's worth mentioning twice. Bacterial imbalance. There's lots of reasons that we can get that way, and it's not always clear what came first, right? Did low bacteria, good bacteria count break down the barrier function, or did broken down barrier function cause low bacteria, good bacteria count? So it's not always clear what that trigger is for the barrier function, but we can tell a lot of times when that function gets leaky, and we find that out, unfortunately, sometimes by having some pretty significant health problems. We look at autoimmune diseases. You need 3 things to trigger an autoimmune disease. You need the genetic predisposition, you need a trigger, so a stressor. It doesn't have to be a car accident or death in the family. It can be something like rolling your ankle, or having getting a cold that just won't go away. But once you hit that threshold, the burden threshold, then we tip the cart, right? And the third thing you need to have is leaky barrier function, because what happens is we get all of these little particles, whether they're foods or toxins or bacteria, that are not meant to be on the other side of the wall. We get them, now they've crossed enemy lines, and they're creating autoimmune responses in the body, because the body is great at trying to defend itself, right? But it can only handle so much. And when we push it too far, then we kind of, what would I say, we tip the cart, right? So there's a lot of issues that are caused by leaky barrier function. And this is one, in my practice, one of the things that I see really commonly that people have tried to fix in the past, whether it's to address gas and bloating or things like that, or to reduce autoimmune complexes and pain. um, food intolerances, those kind of things. But this is tricky. So there are some things that have been researched really well that have a positive benefit, those being glutamine, DGL, aloe, and zinc. Aloe, especially for reinvigorating that microvilli and that mucosal barrier. People are often using bone broths and things like that because of the amino acid complexes in there, and the healing potential that they can support. But each individual is very unique in what not only caused the barrier function malfunction, I should say, but also how to go about it. So this is the foundation. We've got to heal and seal first and foremost if you want to get your gut health back on track and your health, like just in general. Mentioned it twice, right? Because it's so important. Managing stress. A hijack stress response. So stress isn't bad. Let's start there, right? Stress, the body should be rubber bandy, right? It should be resilient to tension, stress, pressure. But what happens is our bodies after time, because we're constantly exposed to this stress response, whether it's, from the body detoxing from the flame retardant on the couch and watching exciting movies and driving and having busy lives and not having time to be in nature and rest and relax, or not feeding our bodies the types of foods that they need to have those calming effects on us, or getting enough nutrition, is that rubber band gets set out in the sun. It's kind of like it gets overworked. And what happens when you pull on a rubber band that's been out in the sun? Right? And so we really have to address the stress response as we go through any kind of healing process, especially gut health. And so there's a few great ways to get started. When I work with clients one-on-one, we really hit this hard, because not only is it going to speed up your recovery time, it is going to solidify that healing that occurs, so that this is the new normal, right? Your body doesn't now swing back into patterns that it was in before, because we've managed stress along this journey, as opposed to just pushing the body crazy hard and then having to be cranky with us on the other end. So practicing square breathing, getting energy vampires out of your life, doing movement. The research has shown that taking a walk after dinner can actually reduce your cortisol and help you get better sleep. And it doesn't have to be big and crazy. It can be a 15 to 20-minute stroll, but having positive movement, even if that's taking a 5 extra minutes in the shower and stretching and breathing. Bacterial balance is huge. And I could talk for decades on the microbiome, and I have probably talked for 1,000 hours in the last 6 months on the microbiome. But bacterial balance is huge for modulating the stress response. They make a nice little loop. Acid balance is actually a big one. And we talk about the vagus nerve, which is the gut-brain connection. That is a huge trigger for people who have nervous guts, cranky guts, that are struggling with constipation or dumping syndrome. That migrating motor complex is not working appropriately, those nerves that go top to bottom. And so we have to really invigorate that nerve and support it. But having acid imbalance or poor bacteria, diversity and good commensal that bugs, is going to mess up that vagus nerve. So we can strengthen the vagus nerve by gargling, deep, like deep in your throat, kind of vibrates that nerve, and laughing, like finding a double whammy, right? Laughing, reducing stress, and then supporting the vagus nerve at the same time. So I work a lot with clients on this stress response, the HPA axis. Getting great sleep, that's critical, right? We need our sleep. It's one of our foundations. But if you're looking for somewhere to get started, especially if you've got nervous tummy, or you find yourself like getting diarrhea or stomach cramps when you're in stress situations, this is a great place to start. Okay, so then we have to figure out this balance of acid. I have so many clients that come in that, I have so many clients that come in that do have GERD, or been stuck on a proton pump inhibitor or antacids for a really long time. And they want to get off of them and with their doctor's approval. And then I have so many that come in that don't feel like they have heartburn or any of those symptoms, but they've got a lot of these symptoms from this cough and reflux questionnaire. They're hoarse, they clear their throat, they've got a lot of mucus and postnasal drip. They feel like they have this like globus sensation in their throat. They've got this annoying cough or things like that. And we can actually tie that back to this LES valve and an acid imbalance. The body's not producing acid at the right time, and then it's overproducing when the food is like passed on. It's kind of needs a reminder. So we reinvigorate that lower esophageal sphincter, which is this little connector flap down here. He gets atrophied from acid imbalance or poor nutrition. And you can do that with using chamomile and catnip tea. Lots of ways to fix that guy up, but that's a good starter. And we reduce triggers. So we figure out what are the foods now that we've kind of done some repair, we've focused on really nutrient dense foods. What are some foods that could be causing this acid imbalance or that are promoting an increase in acid when we really need to train the body how to make acid at the right time? A lot of those are your citrus and your, tomato-y things and cinnamon and caffeine and tea and things like that, black tea in particular. So this is kind of this replace. We need to figure out what type of enzymes the body needs. Digestive enzymes can be a huge support when they're initiated in the right order. I have a lot of clients that come in that have taken enzymes, they felt better for a little while, but then they really stopped being effective, or they were kind of okay, but they didn't make a huge impact. And that's the strategic part of this. We really need to figure out what type of enzymes the body needs. Do we need support in fat digestion or protein digestion to retrain the gut to make these right enzymes? Those support organs that we talked about, right? The liver, the gallbladder. I hope you still have yours. I miss mine. The pancreas, all these guys, right? They're going to be support staff. And then really getting the stomach healed up so that it can really produce the right type of, enzymes to break our food down, because we're already behind if our food is leaving this, ball of chyme, this food ball is leaving our stomach without being properly digested, right? If it's not broken down enough, now we go further down the chain and our particles are too big and we're feeding bad bacteria or don't have it broken down enough to feed good bugs. It's just a whole mess. So there's ways to do that. People often use raw apple cider vinegar. Golly, that tastes terrible, but more power to you. I've used like Swedish bitters and things like that with my clients in the past, but I really prefer a targeted enzyme support, and often some form of acid, depending on personal needs to really get that system up. So the microbiome, my favorite topic, and I'm going to have the least amount of time to talk about it, but that's okay because I have a whole class on it, and we can do another webinar on just the microbiome if you guys want. So if you do have more questions or you'd love me to go deeper on different topics, but you're not ready to be a client yet or something like that, feel free to reach out. I love doing teaching and things like that. So we'll keep the information coming. So collection of microbes that live in and on us. So very many of them, so many. They outnumber our own cells 10 to 1. Of course, they're smaller because they're bacteria. 99% of the DNA that is in and on you is actually microbial. Only 1% of the DNA is your own, like mammalian DNA. And it's between 3 to 5 pounds is how much the bacteria would be if you kind of scooped it all up and put it together. There's some differing opinions on that. But the microbiome is correlated to a ton of different health concerns. Now, we're not going to say causation, right? But we can look across the whole demographic of people with Parkinson's, people with obesity or weight loss resistance, and see that they have similar inadequacies in their microbiome and certain overgrowth of certain bacteria. And so that, for me, is a huge link, definitely a correlation, right? Not a causation. But we can flip that. We can actually change the type of bugs that we feed and that have the most real estate in the gut. you cannot do this with just taking a probiotic. Probiotics last in your system for about 12 to 24 hours, depending on the type. So the majority, I'll say the majority of probiotics, and they do some help, they do their work, they do some jobs down there, and then they are done and they're out, right? And so we actually need to make a shift on what bacteria is living in the gut. Sometimes we have to go on bacterial offensive, right? We have to kill off some bad bugs before we can make room for good ones. But we for sure need to have that barrier function sealed up. So that, we have this nice, good real estate, like good, happy home for them to live in. We for sure need to have enhanced digestion on the top end so that good nutrients and the prebiotics, which is bacterial food, are actually available to the bugs, the good bugs, once the food makes it down that far and the nutrients make it down that far, before we try to flip them on their head. So this is often towards the end of a gut healing program with me, is we fix up the microbiome, getting into nature, putting your feet in the grass, eating fermented foods that have actual live cultures in them, not have just been pasteurized or things like that. Enhancing digestion, which I already said, feeding them prebiotic foods, and we'll do a blog on that here in a little bit, so be sure to check the website out for some list of prebiotics that you can take. I have a lot of clients that are very sensitive to prebiotics, and it gives them terrible gas and bloating. Well, what does that make us think? Maybe we don't have enough good bugs. Our own bodies can't digest prebiotics, right? We need bacteria to do that. And so if we don't have good bugs to break them down, or we've got bad bugs munching on them and farting out methane and all that kind of stuff, we have this, gas and bloating. So the microbiome isn't just like gut related, right? It's largely there, but I have seen lots of clients that have come in with bacterial vaginosis and persistent yeast infections and eczema and cavities, and just having like constant histamine imbalance, like nonstop. And we can really tie a lot of that back to imbalance in the microbiome, and that system needs support. And so this is, healing up the gut is the best way to get your microbiome back on track. But there are lots of different types of topical and oral probiotics, and even vaginal. And there's lots of really good research on how we can support the body, especially if we've reduced inflammation, we've healed all of that barrier function, we're getting good nutrition in a way that's quick and easy and fun. I know it sounds like a lot, but that's my job. Quick and easy and fun. Then we actually get a big boost when we go right to the source. So whether that's, yeast or weird rashy things or whatever else. So I have just a few minutes left. This is what it would look like. This is kind of an overview outline of what I would make up for a client that was in my 3-month gut healing program. So, right. So we're looking at the 3 main contributors, right? And for different people, it's different things. Sometimes one of these circles is hormones. Sometimes one of these circles is, the endocrine system or something like that. But in general, this is kind of the winning formula that I've developed that seems to be really effective over time. We got to get your guts moving right. If you've got diarrhea, constipation, let's not do that, right? And let's not go about it in a way that's going to mess up the system even more. So taking laxatives or too many binders or things like that. We're going to start easing those symptoms right off the get-go. We've got to get great sleep. It's foundational, right? Then we go on to heal and seal. So that's the repair part of this. If you're on a PPI, that's, I specialize with people. You've got to get your doctor's approval to wean off of that. I have had very few people not be successful in reaching their personal goals when it comes to proton pump inhibitors. We really can retrain the gut, heal up that inflammation. We don't want your stomach digesting itself, right? That's really painful. I've been there. Like, I have empathy heartburn all the time for my clients. I don't actually have heartburn, but it's just like an empathetic response. Then we hear that, underlying acid or microbiome balance. A lot of people with this, yucky acid problems, they've got H. pylori hiding down there or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. We figure out what types of nutrients the body really needs to get moving. Then we fix up digestion, and that's different for each person. Manage stress, and we kind of do that the whole time, but it kind of fit down there. We fix up your gut bugs using targeted probiotics that actually are spore-based and can actually clear out pathogenic bugs and make real estate for good bugs to live. And focus on nutrients, right? Food, just real food. So, oh, thing popped up. And then I love to end, not end because I still see clients after their 3-month wellness, but with some kind of cleanse protocol. So like a detox, but just really like intentional feeding of the body, getting everything back, right? Because we want the body to have this new healed state as its new normal. And then over here on the right-hand side, I have some of my mindful eating. It's a whole meal deal, right? You're not coming just to fix your gut. You're coming to fix your health, right? And to move in the right direction. And excuse me, we know that health is a journey, right? It's not a destination. And so it can be overwhelming sometimes when we feel like we're on the clock. But when we can get all of these systems working together, we can be really effective at creating change, especially when you have an advocate on your side. So that's also all right. So this is just a kind of this would have a lot more specifics. It was for a client, but I don't have all the all the exact supplements and things written down. This is what clients often see when they go through my 3-month program, right? It's different for each person, but it's kind of an overview for you guys. And we're almost out of time, so this will be my last slide. Great to have you. So many people in the group and dozens that requested the replay. So hopefully I figure it out and the technology doesn't completely fail me. If you have more questions, reach out. If you're interested and you're ready, you're like, okay, this makes sense. I'm in. I want to get this fixed up. I have the time, the energy, the resources to make this happen. Feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to kind of send you an overview of what that looks like. We could have a chat on the phone. But I just want you to know that truly the root of our health is in the gut. It is something that can be managed and healed up. It's unique timing wise and structure wise for each person. So if you've tried in the past and not succeeded, don't quit. You're not a failure. It's just really complicated. I literally went back to grad school so I could heal my own gut. So I'll save you the trouble of going and getting an advanced degree. But if you have more questions, feel free to reach out. And if you'd like a replay of this sent to you, be sure to send me an email or comment on Facebook or something like that. So I see you, love you. Inhale. Emily.